what part of my commentary, part of what I'll be talking about will be in relationship to these ideas about blackness and blackness in the inner city and low income people. And so I just want to kind of lay that out there and for you to think about my presentation in the context of stereotypes and expectations around Black people in South Central, and then like any of the correlations, like things happening in Baltimore, etc. So my title is really kind of tongue in cheek because I would actually prefer not to have to use the U.S. public assistance programs, but through the process that I've gone through of trying to seek support, that has been the way that I have been funneled into. And so for me, autonomy is the ability to make educated, well-informed decisions, right, about my own life and what I'm doing, right? And so then we think about the question of, like the question that's up there, which ties into my relationship with my parents, right? So the process of so I graduated from UCLA 2 years ago with my bachelor's in English studies. And in my right before my last quarter at UCLA, I realized I was in a deep and I had been in a relationship. So I had to remove myself from that situation. And through that process, I had to like go to court, and that I will talk about that later. But so that was how I got funneled into like the public assistance. But then in reflecting on how I could be in a relationship, for 6 years, I really looked at myself and I realized that my parents were also abusive. And so that led me to not communicate with my parents because they are still abusive, right, to this day. So this is an exploration of how is it that my parents became, like what were the influences that prevent my parents from being able to really connect with me and mentor me and support me through my own process of like coming into a space of like my spiritual responsibility and role as a gender non-conforming person, and also like the way that I think much more critically about our positionality, like me and my parents' positionality within a U.S. historical context. So education to me is not just by us being here. It's also our interpersonal relationships and our relationship with our society. And so for me, my decolonization process has included direct engagement with land, and that's land in the city, right? That's connecting with trees, being able to communicate with trees, and having to actually work through the shame of touching a tree and listening to a tree, right? Because it just got to that point where I trusted my family so much that the only things that were available to support my sanity and my sense of love itself was nature in the city. So that led to me having a different type of self-image, right? And so what I have come to really embrace a sense of indigeneity around being able to come into like a sense of self that is more multiplicative. Like I don't just see myself as just one individual. I see myself as being able to shift in and out of very valid and important spaces that inform the way that I move in the world in a way that is not as violent as it was before. And relationships have been a really big deal for me because in my reflection and in interaction with my parents, I realized how isolated I became and how isolated I make myself because of the interactions that I have with my parents. And so the benefit that I had, which was a blessing and a person in disguise, was that I spent most of my time in the house. When I wasn't at school, I was usually at home. And so I didn't get exposed to a lot of things that a lot of my friends did, but at the same time, I haven't really intense. And so my ability to like develop and maintain healthy relationships with other people was very limited until a couple of years ago when I really started working on it. And so that has been really hard because I left academia and where I did an amazing job. I did all this great stuff while I was in academia, but then I left because on top of like everything I did, there was also having to deal with institutional racism and institutional sexism and those were things that I was really kind of just navigating and not dealing with because I was also in a relationship. And so I didn't speak before or anything like that. I didn't really talk about what was going on beyond campus. and having to rely on people and having to share with people. And so, like, overcoming the shame has been a huge thing. And so, my ability to connect with people and share with people led me to being invited to a ceremony, right? And so I've had the opportunity to actually participate in more than one traditional ceremony on land, right, like on their reservation. And so that is a relationship that is very important to me in terms of like really confirming for me the connection that I have with spirit that has guided me and helped me through this process this entire time. Because that was the one thing that I had to relearn to rely on from my own instinct, and that has really affected the way that I move in the world. And so for me to do justice to that relationship, I have to include it here. So research in and of itself is laden with microaggressions for me as a person of color who's also like really working through like becoming an indigenous identified and being able to claim that and own that because of what I know, because of what I feel, and then being able to like so there's something called the city training, which is part of the institutional review board. Do any of you know what the institutional review board is? Do you know what the institutional review board is? Can you say for what it is?
It's like there's one that's like every academic institution, and it's the like kind of bureaucratic step that anyone who wants to do interviews or other kinds of research goes through. And so it's like, this is what I'm going to do for my research project, and then you have to like set up this whole form and they prove it or not. But I think it's set up in light of a lot of like medical research and science research, and so a lot of communities are also trying to think about how to set up their own community review boards, because these are about like protecting the universities, like, and less about actually protecting, the integrity of the relationships with communities they're being interviewed.
Right. And see the horrible part about that for me was that I had to read about that. Like